right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. As you know already, this is World Ocean Week. And not only is it World Ocean Week, but today is World Ocean Day. So we've had a great series of live education events for classrooms across North America and beyond on the go since Monday. We are celebrating World Ocean Week in partnership with the Explorers Club, and we've been talking to scientists and explorers, researchers, conservationists, and artists who are not only researching our ocean, but documenting it so we can see the amazing marine life we have and what we're doing to our ocean. But they're also looking for solutions to try and protect our ocean, to try and protect our marine ecosystems, because as Silvira likes to say, no blue, no green. Our oceans are incredibly important to our planet. So we have a great event coming up today. I'm so excited to have Nina Rossiter joining us. She is an artist, an author, an artivist focusing on environmental issues. So as an award-winning artist and best-selling multi-award-winning author, Nina bridges her passions through her work in painting and illustrating children's books. So she's passionate about fighting climate change, protecting nature, and keeping the oceans free from plastic and pollutants. Her concerns for our environment are what inspired her to write Diamonds, Hearts, and Sea Stars, and also 1, 2, 3, Who's Cleaning the Sea? So I'm going to bring Nina in live with us right now. Hey, Nina, how are we doing today?
Hi, Joe. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. It's
awesome.
sunny here in Paris. Really nice chatting to you. Looking
All
forward
right.
to that.
Absolutely, Nina. It's so great to have you joining us live today from Paris. Pretty cool. Across the ocean from us here in New York. And, something jumped out at me right at the beginning when I was sharing your intro. And I think it's a term that maybe some students tuning in might not be familiar with, and that's artivist. And I wonder if you can kind of talk a little bit about that and what that means.
Yeah, so it's a good start because I love the term artivist, and I think more and more people can become artivists. So it's good to know what it means. So I think everyone knows what an activist is. So somebody who speaks up in public about issues that environmental issues or something they really care about, like Greta Thunberg, for example, is probably the most famous activist. And an artivist is somebody who combines the activism with their art. So they speak through their art to the public. So it means you can give a message, you can create posters, you can create anything visual with an important message that protects the environment. And I love it so much because now I'm okay speaking to people publicly, but 4 years ago I was very shy, and it was very difficult for me to speak up and say what I thought and what I felt and how I wanted to protect our oceans. So I started to do it on paper first. And I think especially kids, it's a good medium for them to work on how they feel about, anything that is happening in the world that they would like to give a message to other people when they create artwork. So I think little artist is what I like to create.
No, I think that's great. I mean, there's no denying that students love art. It's a great way to express themselves, and it's just a fact that science isn't for everybody. Not everybody is going to study sciences, but there's no reason why other talents can't be used to help in some of the environmental issues that we're facing today. And I think art is a great way to express and share what's happening to our planet.
And I sometimes think that a big science report is difficult to make everyone understand. And if you can translate that one science report into a piece of art, the message can spread much faster. So we kind of need to work together as well, scientists and artists, because that would work, I think.
Yeah, no question. I mean, a 1,000-word article is one thing, and some people are going to read that, but not everybody. Whereas an image, right? An image of a sea turtle caught in a fish net, that can say so much in a glimpse, right? And really,
that's very true.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you're mentioning that, because what I'm actually trying to do as well is I saw so many upsetting images when I started my research on plastic pollution, and I had 7 years or at that point less, but I had a few years of experience with writing children's books and was talking to mothers. And I was writing a book about Halloween for a series with a penguin. And one mother was telling me that she was very afraid that the book might be too scared for her son. And so I was really aware that images can also scare children, especially very young children. And that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to create artwork that is beautiful, but at the same time converts a message, like has an important message, and you understand the problem, but you don't see an animal dying, or you don't see what the actual consequences would be. You can guess them, but you don't see it. So that was one of the main reasons as well why I started to create images with a little twist to it, let's say it like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I see, where you're sitting right now, I can see some art on the wall. And I wonder, there's a particular piece that I know is pretty special, the Mangrove piece that you have behind you. And I know that recently was displayed in front of world leaders, which is pretty wild. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about that piece and how it came together.
Yeah, it's an incredible journey. I'm very, very proud of it. So it all started with volunteering for an organization called the Marine Diaries, and they were planning to do like an ecosystem project of 9 months. Every month a different ecosystem, and they asked illustrators if they wanted to volunteer, and I was very happy to help them with my work. And each artist got given an ecosystem. And I was given the mangroves, and I must say I didn't know much about the mangroves before. So I spent time exploring them. I learned about blue carbon. I learned about all the biodiversity mangrove hosts and the danger they have. So it was a really nice journey for me as well, because I learned a lot. And once the illustration was finished, they used it for a poster that got sent out to schools and educational material. And I always donate my artwork to an organization called Explorers Against Extinction. Mm-hmm. And I thought the mangrove would be a good piece to donate, because one of the categories was wild spaces. And I thought it's a good wild space to know about the mangroves. So I asked the Marine Diaries if it was okay if I could keep donating the artwork to different organizations, and they were 100% okay with that. And so I sent it to Explorers Against Extinction. And what I didn't know was that Explorers Against Extinction, they have a Sketch for Survival competition, but they were also applying for different galleries. And one of the gallery space they applied for was at COP26 in the Blue Zone in the Leaders Lounge. But nobody knew about this because it was all a secret. And so a few weeks before COP26 started, they sent me a message and said, we have a big event where we could show your mangrove, but we cannot tell you what it is. Would it be okay for you if we create a copy in A0 for this event? And I trust Sarah and Rob a lot. I knew they were not doing anything silly. Yeah. So I said, yes, of course. If it is for a good cause, please go for it. Do it. And the day COP26 started, it was the 31st of October. They sent me a message and saying, your mangrove illustration was chosen of one of 5 to be exhibited in the Leaders Lounge at COP26. And I couldn't believe it. I was very, very excited. And then they said, because it was all such a big secret, we were actually not allowed in the Leaders Lounge. So we haven't seen any pictures of it, and we can't send you any pictures. So I didn't know anything about it. So I went on Twitter and typed in Mangrove, Leaders Lounge, COP26, kind of was trying to find, maybe somebody took a picture of it. And the first picture that came up was Angela Merkel and in front of the mangrove, and I couldn't believe it. It was incredible. So yeah, because I'm German, it was funny that the German chancellor was standing in front of it. It was such a coincidence. And yeah, that was pretty amazing. And then a few weeks after the event, the Explorers Against Extinction had the competition, and the mangrove got shortlisted, and then it was in the finals, and it won the award for Wild Spaces for the best artist of the year. So
wow, congratulations! Very cool.
So.
Well, it must be, incredibly satisfying to see. Well, for the recognition, something that you researched and worked so hard on, and then knowing that so many eyes get to see your work as well. I think that must be exciting too.
Yeah, I think it's very exciting. And I talked to a friend of mine who they have mangroves as well. And they said it's really important as well for locals to know how important mangroves are, because there's the illegal logging and the logging. And, it is such an important, subject to raise awareness of, so people know how to value it and to not give it away for any profit. So it's certainly very important.
Yeah. Well, you bring up an amazing point, because mangroves are an ecosystem that I'm sure a lot of classrooms, tuning in might not know a lot about, but mangroves are an incredibly important habitat. They're an amazing nursery ecosystem for so much marine life that starts their lives kind of in that safe interlocking root system of the mangrove. And then, you mentioned how they are being destroyed. All kinds of reasons, development along coastal areas. But the services that they give to us, that they provide for us, you can't really put a price on, because you can't replicate those services.
No. And the carbon they store will be back released into the nature once they're destroyed. So it's really sad. So, and it's not good for us. And so it's important.
All right. Well, I have to ask, because there's front and center, there's one behind you, the surfboard. Are you a surfer?
I wish. I'm a swimmer. I'm a competitive swimmer. That's where the love for the ocean comes from. I wish I could surf, but if I would live by the ocean, I think I would. But passionate.
Fair enough. I lived in Australia for a year, and I took some lessons, and I could stand up, but a lot of the pictures are usually like, my feet sticking up straight out of the water after falling over. So it's something you have to work at a little bit, I think.
I love bodyboarding, so there's no problem there. But with surfing, I mean, I get up and then I get down. It's just like, I wish I could take a wave, but yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Well, let's talk about plastics a little bit, because we did reach out to students and we did ask them to send us in some questions. And through Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, we do cover plastics throughout the year, particularly in September, when that's kind of our theme for the month. So it is something that students hear about throughout the year. It's something they're trying to do things in their classroom, because it is something that everybody can do, right? Is kind of reduce the amount of plastics they're using, reduce their single-use plastics. It's a great spot kind of for students to start. So a few questions here. And, one here just in general, plastics entering our ocean. What do you think? What's an estimate of how much plastics kind of hit our ocean each year?
Yeah, I would definitely say too much. So before we go into estimates, there shouldn't be any plastic in our ocean, because it's such a hazard for wildlife. But they say that about a truckload enters our ocean every minute. And if you imagine that, it's just it's just not good. And once it breaks down into small pieces, it's just so difficult to clean up. And I've spoken to a few waste management and recycle plastic companies, and they say once it's in the ocean, it's so difficult. It's almost impossible to reuse it. So yeah, it's a big problem.
Yeah. I mean, just that concept, right, of thinking of a dump truck every minute of every day of every year, dumping a load of plastic into the ocean. That's essentially what's happening. Now, we know that's happening from river systems. We know that it's escaping from land and landfills. Some may be dropped in on purpose, but I think the dump truck is, again, a really kind of powerful image to think of that much hitting our ocean every minute.
Yeah, some studies do it with Eiffel Towers and with elephants, and but I don't know the numbers of that, but it is a lot.
Trying to create that visual picture. You brought up a really good point. Once it's in the ocean, getting it back is no easy feat. And then what do you do with it, right? It breaks up into those small pieces, those small microplastics. And I think what you said was so important is it shouldn't get there in the first place. And I always think of the analogy of a bathtub, right? If your bathtub was overflowing, would you grab a mop and just mop the floor? Or would you, turn the tap off and then maybe think about the floor? So I think that's really important spot to start.
Yeah, or use what's in the tub before you get more out of the tub. It's certainly the circular industry as well, which is important. And yeah, I mean, the problem is always if virgin plastic is more cheaper than recycled plastic, if it gets more complicated for companies to use it, it has to be the whole cycle has to be easier. So we get the plastic reused that is already out there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we always hear recycle your plastics, but are all plastics recyclable?
Yeah, that's something I actually do with the class. So when I do, we didn't talk about this, but I do regular class visits. So I try to work with schools, and I usually go to a class several times. So we do story time, and then we do a presentation about plastic, and then they create some artwork. And when we talk about plastic, I always ask them first, where do you see plastic? So, and then they start looking around and they discover that actually what they're wearing is plastic and their glasses are plastic, and they discover that plastic is just everywhere. So, and it's not just one type of plastic, there are several types. So there are 7 main types of plastic, and it's not the same when we talk about glass, it's glass. When we talk about metal, it's metal. But with plastic, it's really not the case. Plastic, there are so many different types of plastic. There's one plastic that is very popular in the recycling industry, the PET, and there are other plastics that are not so popular. And it is complicated to recycle all of them because it's expensive. And you have to sort them into different sorting systems. You have to have these machines. Sometimes, or very often, especially in the cosmetic industry, you have a different cap to like a body. So there are 2 or 3 types of different plastics in just one product. So it's very complicated. And if you can avoid the plastic, because it's probably single-use plastic, if you can replace it with a sustainable product that is reusable, then that is definitely better than recycling it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of students see different bottles or different products, and you see the recycle symbol and you see that number, a 1 or a 3 or a 6. And, that means it has to be recycled in a different way. It's a different type of plastic. And in many communities, they might be able to do a 2 and a 3 and not a 4 and a 6. So that plastic ends up, in the landfill anyways.
Yeah, here in France, they use a lot for incineration, and they use that incineration heat to heat warm water. But it's still, it's a type of pollution. It's still waste of resources. It's not good. You should try to avoid it before you create pollution or waste resources, earth resources. Correctly.
Yeah. So, I see a lot of people doing clever things with plastics, sometimes simply taking them and making them into really, exciting art installations. I know in California, a friend of mine did a massive mural on a wall made of bottle caps of like an undersea, ecosystem, an undersea coral reef. I'm wondering, have you ever come across, a really clever recycled use of plastic? Anything that really kind of, wow, that was pretty cool?
Well, it really depends. So, in what level you're talking about. So, I've seen some really cool art projects with the schools I've worked with, but I always have the worry of it becomes just a big pile of waste. Otherwise, afterwards, I always say to the schools, maybe contact the museum afterwards, contact somebody who can take this installation and use it for different purposes, or recycle it. But then we're back at the recycling problem. But in the industry itself, I'm a huge fan of Pali. I love what they do. I love my Pali shoes, if I can say that. but I just love that. I also work with fishing nets because a lot of fishing net makes up for the plastic in our oceans. We always talk about the single-use plastic, but fishing nets are actually a bigger problem than that. So it's good that people are also tackling that problem. So yeah, but I mean, my favorites are the schools I work with and the kids that create the artwork. It's just that I think the next thought of what happens with that artwork is still a problem then.
After, of course. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought up fishnets because this is one of my favorite things here, one of my favorite uses, and I think the kids would get a kick out of this too. So this is a skateboard made with recycled fishing nets collected in Chile.
Awesome.
I think this is a really cool use. And then this is something that kids will use, for a long time and, durable as well. Sorry?
Can you skate?
I mean, I can go up and down the street, but it doesn't go a lot further than that, I would say. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's lots of great uses for it. I know another group that makes them into, rugs and carpets that are then used in people's homes and, planters and things like that. So there's all kinds of ways that plastic can find a second life if it can't make its way back into a bottle or something. So very cool.
Yeah, I have a big event coming up on the weekend, and we're going to display 4 of my artworks on the wall, and they are also printed on recycled polyester materials. So they are printed on already existing waste. So that's kind of the same, yeah.
Do you, I know that there's 4 images you're sharing at the event. Do you want to share a couple of those?
Yeah, so you mentioned my books. So one is 1, 2, 3, Who's Cleaning the Sea? Okay. And so out of this book, which is a book which raises awareness of plastic pollution, it's fun rhymes. And I got inspired writing this book by powerful images that were shared by scientists, by wildlife photographers. And so one is this, for example. Can you see?
Yeah.
Then we have the cotton bud. This year was the cotton bud. We have the jellyfish with here 9 plastic bags. Here we have, I think it's, wait, let me check. But he's collecting 6 plastic spoons. So the book is based on the 10 most items, plastic items, single-use plastic items found in the ocean. And each of them collects some. And these are going to be very, very big, displayed in the Grand Palais this week. Then at that time when we talk.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah. I think, excuse me, the jellyfish with the plastic bags, I think is a powerful image because, sometimes people think, well, why do sea turtles eat plastic bags? Why do whales? Well, you can see if you're going through the ocean looking for jellyfish and things like that, well, that's, sometimes you don't, when you're looking for food, sometimes you don't take that second look. You get food when it's available. And
and filter feeders, they just go through the ocean like that. So they take what is available. And if they go through a garbage patch where there's lots of microplastic and lots of particles swimming in the sea, that's what's in their tummy.
Yeah, absolutely. So writing, I think that's such another powerful way to reach students. I think through the book you just showed us, 1, 2, 3, Who's Cleaning the Ocean, kind of using those rhymes, that imagery. So, what led you to writing? I know you were working on art. What led you to writing in children's books?
I just, I always wanted to illustrate children's books, and I studied illustration and communication design at university. So after 2 years, we could decide if we would go and finalize our studies in communication design or in illustration design. And I talked to one of the professors, and he said to me, we had a one-to-one chat. He said it's really difficult to make a living out of an illustration lifestyle. He encouraged me to go into the communication world of advertising and product design and graphic design. And so I did. But in my heart, I never let go of the thought that I wanted to write and illustrate children's books. So when I took a break between 2 jobs and I had some time on my own at home, I just started. That was 10 years later, but I just started and doing it. And I did nothing with the books. But when my daughter was born, I said, okay, I will publish them. I will put them out there. And that's how the writing started. That's how Toby the Penguin started. And then it was just something I did. Like in the evenings, I wrote children's books. I love storytelling, and it just started with my kids, really. I wanted to tell them, because we are French, English, German, and I wanted to tell them a little bit about the German culture, about the English culture. So that's how it started. And then it was also my daughter who put me on the path of discovering plastic pollution. And that's how 123, Who's Cleaning the Sea, came alive, because we went to an aquarium visit, and they talked about plastic pollution there. And they asked the children that day if they wanted to be part of the show. They only wanted to pick 2, and my daughter was one of them who wanted to help. And because she was involved in the show, it drew my attention to what was going on. And when we came home that evening, it stayed with me. I was touched by her action, and I was also curious about what is the bigger problem with plastic. And that's when I discovered the recycling problem, the plastic problem. And that's when I decided my book was the next book I was going to be about plastic pollution and help to raise awareness, so we are all more aware of what's going on. So yeah. A long answer.
No, it's a good answer. I think it's really important for students to know that there's no right or wrong way to find what you want to do and what you're passionate about. And sometimes it might take trying a few different jobs. Sometimes it might take making some changes. But if you can kind of follow your passion and make it into a career, I think that's the best way to do it when your job doesn't always feel like work.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you really, really want to do something, something in life will lead you back to where your heart wants to go. I think that's something we do.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well, look, it's Ocean Week coming up, and we want to issue a challenge to students. Students all hear a lot about what they can do. There's lots of things that they can do in their classroom, from reusable containers, reusable cutlery, no single-use plastics, making changes at home, carrying their own cutlery with them, things like that. But I think what we should do is try to activate our artivists out there with this challenge. So I've got the challenge templates queued up. I'm going to share my screen in a moment. But why don't you maybe start and tell us a little bit about the challenge as I get my screen shared?
Yeah, okay. So what I always love to do with the kids is I love to put them on a little journey where they discover for themselves what the problems are in the ocean and how they can help. And I think this little journey helps each of us to become a little artivist, to make a difference. So, for example, we must reduce single use. So we are asking to create an artwork that raises awareness of single-use plastic. So the kid can then spend time with what is single-use plastic, why is it a problem, and which sea creatures are affected, how can I protect them? And we would love for them to draw us a sea creature with single-use plastic items in this template. The second template is we must reduce single use. So here we can show sustainable products as an example. We lead by example. We show good examples. So like the octopus, he's bringing his own bag and reusables. So it's a little message to bring your own. And it's also a good reminder because anywhere you go, you can bring your own and therefore you can reduce waste. And the last template is basically very open. You can be creative with anything that is something that you worry about or that you would like to raise awareness of. So freedom of choice, basically.
Yeah, well, I think there's something here for everybody, whether it's showing that awareness of the plastics, of the marine issue, whether it's illustrating solutions, or just drawing that animal, that sea life that really kind of speaks to you. So we've got another template down here, and then putting your own message inside. What do you want to share? What do you want people to know?
And it doesn't have to be an octopus. It's just that we chose the octopus, but it can be any sea creature, and it can be the items you choose.
All right, excellent. Well,
and I was just saying, I think it's really important to have this journey of spending time with an issue and discovering. Discovering is really really what creates change inside you, because if you walk past something and just see something, it doesn't trigger the emotions when you discover for yourself. So
absolutely. And what's most exciting of all is all the images that are sent to us will be played in the Explorers Club in New York during World Ocean Week, kind of a running animation. So people from all over the world will come through the club that week, and they'll see the work, they'll be inspired by the work. So I think that's really cool too. So not only will students be creating the work, but then eyes will see the work as well. So I think that's pretty fun.
I'm very excited about that. I'm can't wait to see what the kids create and what messages they write. So
all right,
cool.
Well, Nina, before we wrap up today, there's two more questions I have for you. And the first one is inspiration. Is there somebody in the ocean world who inspires you and, maybe had a hand in leading you down this path?
Oh, so I am very inspired by Dr. Sylvia. I loved her quote, "No ocean, no us," which inspired me to use the slogan "Protect what keeps you alive," because I think she's just so to the point. The ocean is not just it's what keeps us alive. We must protect it. So that's something I find really that really inspired me. And then I think the second group of people that inspire me are beach cleaners, because when I first entered the ocean advocacy world, it was difficult for me to find my group of people. And beach cleaners are so community open-minded. They understand the idea of creating a movement, making everyone part of it, and that's just the mindset that I love. And I think it's so important because we must work together, and that's what beach cleaners do. Because even if you have the idea of cleaning a beach, you don't get very far on your own. You always need a big group of people. So
absolutely, yeah. Okay, and then you just from talking to you today, talking to you before this event, you strike me as someone who's busy, always has something on the go. So I'm wondering, is there a project you're working on right now that you can mention, or maybe something that's taking shape that you think you might jump into next?
So at the moment, I'm very busy with the Change Now event, which is starting this week. I was asked to be a speaker as well, which we are going to talk about creating a culture for change, which is exactly the subject of making everyone little change makers and little artists. So I've been very busy with that, with the artwork that is going to be in the Grand Palais Éphémère. And and that's one big project. And then I I'm not so sure what the next will be, but that this one is really big. So
Fair enough. I have no doubt that inspiration will strike you at some point, right? Probably sometimes in unexpected times.
Exactly.
And then you'll be off on the next project, the next thing to share, especially with our future generation, which is so important. So,
Yeah.
Nina, I want to share your website here. I'm going to make sure that we get that up there. If anybody wants to dig a little bit deeper, I imagine that, any classrooms that might want a copy of the book for their classroom could probably purchase there as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's under books. There's also a school request. If anyone wants me to talk to their class, then there's their prints, their books, yeah, all of this.
All right, perfect. And then I'll just remind those educators who are tuning in, students as well, that we're about halfway through our events for World Ocean Week by the time you're watching this event with Nina and myself today. So if you do visit exploringbytheseat.com/Ocean Week, you can find the events that we've had already and the option to watch them. And then, of course, the events that are coming up. So you can tune in live in your classroom, maybe see if there's any camera spots that are still available. And then, of course, you can watch the events in the playlist afterwards at any time. So, Nina, a huge shout out. Thank you so much. Well, first to the classrooms who sent us in some questions. Obviously, much appreciated. And we hope that we were able to answer some of those today. And Nina, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your ocean journey and, how art and writing can have a big impact on the issues that we're facing and raise awareness.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was really nice hearing the questions and talking about plastic. It's my favorite subject. So, and also to combine it with art and to understand that we all can make a difference. We can all be artists and share our work with the world, make a difference.
All right. Thanks, Nina. Thanks, everyone. We are going to sign off for today.